Hey, this is Blondie here, and I'm back with another I Feel Like Playing. This time, it's Sparkster on the Genesis, which is a sequel to Rocket Knight Adventures, which I did quite a while ago. I've been meaning to get this done for quite a while, but whatever. And this is still 16-bit Winter, obviously, and I'm just going to play this game on normal with the maximum number of lives, which is 4, and 5 lives and 4 continues. In order to get this game the complete ending, you need to beat this game on hard, which I did try to do, but it is very difficult. And you just get an initial cutscene anyway, so it's not really that big of a deal to me if just to play this game through normal, because you still get the gist of the game playing on normal anyway. So here's Sparkster in an all-new sprite. He has a robot now, or a mech, whatever you want to call it. And he apparently is on a quest to collect swords. Swords of Power, or something like that. And he's trying to get it, but it's stuck. But uh-oh. Guess who? Yeah, right away we have to fight Axel. Now, this is a fight sequence you have in the intro. It is possible to skip this sequence, but you need that sword to get the complete, to basically just complete the game. And this fight is pretty simplistic. You just move back and forth, and A is a straight jab, which is faster, and B is the underhand attack, which does more damage. A C button is block, but it's probably just me, but with blocking, I have trouble, because if you move and try to block, sometimes it won't work, sometimes my blocking just doesn't work half the time. It's best to be more defensive than aggressive here, otherwise you might get hit. And if you get hit too many times, you lose and have to restart the game and all over again. Which I'm not doing too well here, obviously. Right away, yeah, you have to fade Axel, and he's a dick. Damn it! Let's just pretend that didn't happen and continue fighting him. And yes, got him with the underhand. Fist pump! Urgh. And we got the sword now. Which leads us to the title sequence. And yes, the Genesis version of Sparkster has the subtitle Rocket Knight Adventures 2, which you could technically consider as the actual sequel, as opposed to the Super Nintendo one, which is just Sparkster, and could just be considered as a spin-off. But I sort of consider them both sequels, but uh-oh, Axel just came in and kidnapped Princess Cherry. And Cherry is a cousin of Sherry, so not to get confused as to why this random princess that came in was kidnapped, and why the princess from the last game is here. So now we have control of Sparkster. He controls differently than in Rocket Knight Adventures. He uses the A button to attack with a sword, and he uses his jetpack with C. The thing with his jetpack, though, is it charges up, and you can boost infinitely in the air like this. You also have gems to collect, which you collect 10 blue ones or 1 red one to get us the roulette system. The roulette system gives you different items, but most of the times you'll just get bombs or something. But sometimes you'll get extra gems, power-ups, health recovery items, or even extra lives. And with Sparkster's boost attack, he has 2 levels of it. When it's fully charged with the yellow, he can do a corkscrew attack, which does more damage and can do different things. While his regular boost is not as powerful, but it still does decent damage. His sword is slower, and he doesn't have a projectile, but he can do things such as slash attacks by jumping in the air and slashing down with them. It's actually a pretty handy attack to deal with most enemies. Or you could just run them and slash them, but it has a bit of a delay. And these guys coming out of rocks, if you go away from the screen and get away from the screen just before the rocks shoot out, they won't go past the screen when they're not on screen, so you can just do that. Also, his stationary spin attack is still there, The trick here I do with these vehicles is I spin attack, and then after you do the spin attack, you can move slightly left or right, which lets you get spin attack through the vehicles like that without getting hit. You could also just jump slash them, or just boost them like I do here after I spin attack them. These aren't too difficult to deal with once you just deal with them like that. And you always have to face two of them. The levels are a little bit more open-ended, especially the first level here. Later on, there's multiple paths you can take, and yeah, if you scroll ahead and scroll back, the enemies may not be there anymore, which I guess is a good thing. And I thought you could go past there, but I forgot you couldn't. Derp. There are different types of health recovery items. You have apples, which restore 1 health, and you have, I assume what is chicken, which restores all your health. You also have a boost power-up, and this flame sword, which just appeared from the roulette. The flame sword power-up doubles your sword attacks and spin attack power. However, you get hit like I just did there, you lose it. So it's useful, but chances are you'll get hit and you'll lose it pretty quickly. At least with me, anyway. So yeah, now you just picked up an apple to restore health. The thing is, in the first Rocket Knight Adventures, you had apples and bananas as healing items. This game has apples and chicken, which isn't too bad considering that opossums are omnivores, which means they eat both meat and fruit. So, not that big of a deal. But Sparkster is the only one, because in Super Nintendo, the Genesis version is the only one that does that, though, because in the Super Nintendo Sparkster, it's apples and bananas in that one. And if you go in here, you get an extra life, which is always nice. Although later on, I get an insane amount of 1-ups from the roulette system. Normally I don't get that lucky with the roulette system. And if you go in here, you have a secret area with lots of red gems. Sitting here for a while. Yeah, just avoid the bombs and collect the power-ups. The worst is when you get red gems and it keeps going and going, and oh look, an extra life. If you play this game on hard, I swear, no matter how many red gems you collect, you don't get any 1-ups. And that there I just collected was another sword. Much like Chaos Emeralds in Sonic, you have to collect swords in this game in order to unlock the true ending, basically. It also powers up Sparkster for the very final boss, but we'll get to that eventually. And I just hit that guy with a very high jump attack, only to get hit by another one. See, you have to watch out when you're rocking around in this game, because while you can constantly boost around because of the recharge, I find that controlling Sparkster in this one is more difficult. I wouldn't say it's necessarily bad, but because of... well, it's probably just me, but with my Genesis controller, I tend to just aim in the wrong directions and end up going diagonally, and because of that, Sparkster will ricochet all over the place. You'll see this a lot in this playthrough I do here. So if you go to that upper path there, you have to dodge a bunch of rocks, and here you have to face this thing. This thing is pretty tedious. It's a good showcase of showing that, hey, Sparkster's fully charged up rocket attack can literally unscrew things, which is pretty cool, which let you pass through certain things earlier on. But with this thing, yeah, it's kind of a little bit boring. It's just boring to just sit around and wait for these things to line up properly in order for you to corkscrew through. So it's one of those, you know, sit around and wait kind of things in video games, which most people don't really like to do. It's just kind of a little bit of a tedious, boring thing. I don't mind it too much, but it gets a little tiring. It's like, come on, let me just keep going, kind of thing. So with this game, I got around the same time as Rocket Knight Adventures for just the cartridge, only for around $5 on eBay, which is actually really lucky considering nowadays. While Rocket Knight Adventures on eBay is just waiting here. Well, Rocket Knight Adventures on eBay is more common to find and cheaper. Sparkster, both Genesis and Super Nintendo, are much more expensive and rarer to find. and I have all 3 versions. Super Nintendo Sparkster did cost quite a bit in comparison to the other 2, but still a bit cheaper than what you can find for these days. So once we defeat that, I don't even know if we count that as a mini boss. We get to this wooded area, and you have these pink things that when they attach to you, you can't use your rocket, and if you don't get them off, they'll hurt you. And I got another extra life. How about that? And like in the previous game, Sparkster can hang off and climb under things and stuff. Jumping down from these is a little tricky though. Again, it could just be my controller or that I'm not completely used to the Genesis D-pad, and for some reason climbing up is very slow. The climbing is a little in this game, but it's not too bad. And as I said with those pink things earlier, if you get one stuck on you, just jump and sword attack repeatedly. That's usually what I do to get rid of them, and that works. So, and as for the roulette system, I'm kind of like on it because sometimes it's good, but sometimes the bombs are just annoying as hell. And we get to our first true mini boss here, which is this green face nose guy. You have to attack him when he reaches out his arms to you, otherwise you won't be able to hit his face because his arms are blocking him. This guy is just pretty routine, really, so... whoa, okay. Sometimes the ricochet physics in this can be a little wacky at times. And he'll knock down stuff and throw shit at you. Once in a while, though, if you just saw right there, he'll throw apples at you, which... it's always kind of funny to me to see that in video games where a boss like gives you health. I mean, granted, sometimes it's like hard to get these health items in some bosses, like in the Rocket Knight games, but it's still kind of funny. It's like it's like these bosses are trying to defeat you, and yet they're throwing these items that could potentially heal them and make the fight more difficult for them in their favor. So once we defeat this guy, we have these, I guess, mine carts. Oh, and I forgot to mention earlier, the enemies you fight here are from the Gudel Empire. I hope I'm saying that correctly. They're basically just lizard people. And they don't appear in any other game since then, really. So, yeah. And this is just a little bit of an onslaught here, where you just fight guys in carts over and over. And as you can see there, I went diagonally up like that, which means, yeah, this is as I said, this is the hardest game for me to control Sparkster in. Rocket Knight Adventures I don't have a problem with. Super Nintendo Sparkster, a little bit at times, but it's not as bad as this. Like I said, it's very easy to end up ricocheting and colliding into everything and going absolutely nuts, because especially with his corkscrew, like there, he goes insanely fast when he's corkscrewing at full speed like that. And it doesn't help that you have all these like rocket power-ups and stuff, and you gotta keep going to avoid getting hit by this thing, but it's difficult though at times. Luckily there's health up there, and oh, get the yeah, there's a chicken up there, but the thing is you can't go back up and get it, which is kinda stupid, but whatever. I have enough health anyway to deal with this guy, which we're now fighting on with trampolines. I don't really see the need why we need to be on trampolines, but whatever. It's fun. Video game. Whee. And again, that boss just spewed out a bunch of apples, which worked in my favor there. This mini boss is simple. You just keep going above and under him while he's going around. Just rocket into him. That's what I do anyway. And he's dead. Hooray. And we're still hopping around. Yay, with our little buddies. Oh, they're gone. Oh well. And we now reach the third part of this stage. Yes, the first stage in this game is very long, with like three parts to it. If you play this game on easy, you actually bypass the green area and go straight to this convoy truck or whatever. And if you look in the background, you can see the an airship. That's going to be a later level. there's plenty of crates in this box, which sometimes contain items, but sometimes also contain enemies. Which is kind of weird if you think about it, because enemies being stored in the boxes... I mean, they have troops already on the train. Why do they need to store some of their troops in boxes? It's like they anticipated Sparkster to just open up every crate and hopefully land in a sneak attack. But whatever. There's also, but because this level is auto-scrolling, it's very easy to get caught up and die in things. And if you touch the ground, you'll scroll along with it, so you gotta be careful. And yeah, there's items that you can get here, but it's risky because if you end up too far, you'll die. Too far over, you'll die. And I just got a 1-up from that one, so that was lucky. See, sometimes it's tricky, and I wasn't gonna risk getting that gem. Okay, so now we reach the first full boss, which is the front of this convoy truck, or whatever this is. This boss is actually pretty tricky to figure out at first, but once you figure it out, it's actually not too hard. What you need to do is you have to use Sparkster's ricocheting to ricochet diagonally downwards, so he'll ricochet back up, and then you can just rocket into the air and avoid his attacks. And you just keep doing that until he dies. It's actually a pretty simple routine, but you wouldn't really figure that out because you can actually pretty much just bum rush him and just keep attacking him with full health. I have done it before where I had like half a heart left, and where I just keep bum rushing him and he kept attacking me. But nevertheless, this thing is dead now, and that's the end of stage 1. And we get a clear bonus and life bonus, and you don't get extra lives from the score though, so it doesn't really matter. But yeah, whatever, tally up. And we're gonna go to the desert level next.